Well, good evening. Welcome to High Trails Parent Night. My name is Tacey Killingsworth, and I'm currently the Director for Curriculum Instruction here in Academy District 20. And tonight I have with me Karen Shoey in the corner. She is a teacher on special assignment who has been facilitating and supporting High Trails. And our excellent tech guys. Thank you for. We are also live streaming this, so we have families online who couldn't come tonight be able to listen in and ask questions as well. And then I'm going to introduce the High Trail staff here in just a minute. So as you know, High Trails has been a long-standing tradition in Academy District 20 for many, many years. And some of you might have heard that there's a little bit of programming change for this coming school year. Um, and so last year, our sixth grade students coming in went for 2 nights in about 2.5 days when you looked at arrival and departure time. So this fall, we're going to move to a 1 night, long 2 days. So our kids will and Jacob will talk more about this. Our kids will come up to High Trails around 10 on the first day, do a whole bunch of stuff that he'll talk through, spend the night, and then stay through the whole next day until dinner, and then they won't depart till after dinner. A big piece of the change in High Trails over the past few years, we've just continually looked at that financial piece, the sustainability and the impacts that it has on our budgets, if you will. And so we've continued to look at that, which is why we're moving to 1 night, 2 days. But we're going to be putting a committee together moving forward to talk about, we know this is a great experience for our students and we value that outdoor education, that leadership development that they have. But we also know that we need to be fiscally responsible. And so we're going to look at some different options. We're going to invite families to be a part of our committee, um, teachers and school leaders to really talk about how can we continue to provide something like this with our students in a way that will help us maintain financial responsibility through that. So if you've been hearing that, yes, we have been looking at it, and it's not just this past year, it's been year after year that we continue to look at how does this work financially for us as a district. So tonight, though, is an opportunity for you to hear all about what that High Trails experience is going to look like in the fall for your children. And also at the end, we have our middle school coordinators, some of them here. If you have school-specific questions that you want to know, like what happens at Chinook, they'll be available to answer questions. And then myself and Karen will also be here if there's like district-specific questions that you'd like to ask. And then if we have folks listening in online, they also have the ability to enter questions into the chat. And Karen will be monitoring the chat so that she can either direct the questions specifically to us to be able to answer here for Jacob to learn about the High Trails experience, or to a specific school or district level as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Jacob Sampson, who is one of the leadership folks at High Trails, who's going to share with you all about what to expect at High Trails.
Yeah, have this. Can everybody hear me okay? Good. Well, first, I want to thank you guys for coming out. I want to thank the coordinators for taking time out of their evenings to be here. I want to thank the district leadership and our tech guys for supporting. I want to say hi to everybody at home. I don't know where the camera's at. Over there. There it is. My name is Jacob Sampson, and I joined High Trails last May at this time. I want to share with you a little bit about what you'll experience. I want to give you some visuals of what you'll see up at High Trails. I want to help you feel comfortable coming to High Trails and know that it's all about adventure and choosing your own challenge. The intention is to just make sure you guys feel comfortable with High Trail life and what's coming up for your child as they enter middle school and they get the opportunity to come to High Trails. At High Trails, we stand on 4 pillars. We have 4 guiding goals that we really use to help support everything we do with your kids. The first is sense of earth. In this day and age, it's very challenging to connect to the earth, to get that time outside. And at High Trails, we truly value that. I have a quote by Richard Louv, who is a great author and promoter of getting kids outdoors. And he says, "Time in nature is not a leisure time. It's an essential investment in our children's health. And I think at High Trails, we truly believe that. And you'll see in that 2-day schedule and the things that we go over, we truly believe in that as well. So our sense of self, our sense of community. As your students are going into middle school, they get this great opportunity to connect to other students, make new friends, get that opportunity to connect through challenges and experiences that a lot of them might not have had. Our sense of self. We pride ourselves in helping students challenge themselves, step out of their comfort zone in a very safe environment with the support of our High Trail staff and the support of the staff from the middle schools. Sense of wonder. Nope, this student does not have a cell phone. This is a rock that they found. Taking that closer look, being curious with the world around them, pausing, looking down, getting curious as to what they're seeing and what they're experiencing in nature. Those are the 4 pillars, the 4 goals that we use to support your children out at High Trails. Where are we located? We're located about, depends on where you're at, in Colorado Springs, anywhere from an hour west up Highway 24 in Florissant, Colorado. We get to see the backside of Pikes Peak. We're located on 6,000 acres of pine forests, aspen groves, rocky bluffs. If you look very closely, you can see some kiddos up here. These kiddos did not go this way though. We safely took them around to a beautiful view that they got to experience. The lay of the land. You'll see some very in-depth pictures of High Trails, the lodge, the cabins here in a moment. But if we take a bird's eye view, all students arrive coming in on this road off of Highway 24 through Woodland Park Divide and then turning just after Florissant. You arrive in our Circle Drive. You're dropped off at the lodge. We meet at the central fire pit, which is right here. We talk about the health center. We point out where the cabins are. We go over some of those important things, and then the students dismiss, and they'll be on the north ridge of cabins or the south ridge of cabins. This is one of our cabins. You're home away from home for the time you're with us. On each side of the cabin are 12 beds set up in bunk beds, and each student will have their own locker. We have a great combination of personal space and communal space in our cabins. Here's the other side with the 12 beds and then the lockers for every student. Here's a student organizing, taking that time with intention to set up and prepare for their stay at High Trails. Once the students get into the cabins, we spend time in a cabin meeting with the High Trails staff, going expectations, making sure they understand some of the communal aspects of living in a cabin. And then we give them that time to organize and spend time connecting with their peers before our first meal of lunch. Here's what the bathrooms look like. The cabins are on each end of the cabin, or the sleeping quarters are on each end of the cabin. The bathrooms would run along the back. We have modern facilities, running water. We do have heat and electricity. It's not very rustic. Here's the communal area. The teachers will sleep in this center room. And this is where we get to spend time in the evening during our evening activities, our cabin time at night, in a sense of community connecting. The high schoolers will be in there at that time with us. We'll be winding down. Our staff gets a fire going at the end of a long day. We spend time having conversations, reading books, connecting, setting our intention for the next day, and just enjoying that time together after a long day, challenging ourselves and connecting with each other. Here's our lodge. This is where we give your children all the fuel they will need for their time at High Trails. You know it's time for a meal because this bell can be heard almost anywhere around camp. And this bell is being rung by a very special program that we have at High Trails called our Able Wait Staff. And the Able Wait Staff is an awesome program that we have where students peers get to serve in an act of service and give back to their classmates. They will eat prior to the normal meal, get directions on how to support, because everything we do in the lodge is done family style. You can see bowls and plates are already laid out with the food that they'll be eating. And the able wait staff get the opportunity, based on the needs of the table, to come up to this window or that window to grab the extra food that they need. Plus, it saves a lot of chaos of 100-some kids running around the lodge trying to get an extra roll. So we have a nice organized way to help them serve and take care of their needs. Here's what a little bit of the fun, organized chaos looks like in the lodge. You can see they're enjoying a hearty meal. One thing I want to mention now is there's an online registration for your kiddos that you guys will be getting links to from your coordinators called School Doc. And it's very important to make sure that if your child has any dietary restrictions or any needs, that you fill out that information. Our kitchen coordinator, Nikki, will call about 2 weeks before your school schedule to arrive and go over that just to make sure we've covered everything to help support them. During our meals, the high schoolers that are assigned to each side of the cabin or each overall cabin will be joining the students at that meal as well. It's just a way that we help promote that leadership in those high schoolers. Penicillin Palace, we do have health care 24 hours a day. We have a nurse on site. Once your school arrives, the coordinators help support by making sure we've connected with the nurses and we get the meds to our nurse on site. It'll be important when you guys register for School Doc that if your child has any medications that they'll need to take during the day or during the nighttime at camp, that you fill out that information with the correct dosage, the correct amount, and the correct time. And then there is a form to have a doctor's signature. And I know we've already provided that form to the district that you can use to help get a doctor's signature throughout the summer, so it's not so rushed once the fall comes. But having all that information in School Doc that matches that doctor form is going to ensure that we can keep your child safe and meet their needs at High Trails. Then we get to the meat of our schedule. High Trails, once we've arrived, once they've set up in their cabins, once we've fed them a great meal, we set out on our first adventure. It's called Setting the Mood. Setting the Mood is an opportunity for your child to become familiar with the outdoor classroom. Very different than the four walls that they experience at school. And in Setting the Mood, they get an opportunity to learn to trust their peers in an activity called Find Your Tree. And this is a high schooler leading the students to their tree in an aspen grove. Once there, they get to use their 5 senses to really explore that tree, connect with that tree. Oh, and then they do get the opportunity to go back with their blindfold off to see if they can find that tree. Most kids are very successful and they do better than the adults do. As we continue setting the mood, we take them to a special spot, a high point in camp along a route that allows them to connect and reflect with nature. And they get an opportunity in a journal that all students will have to do some reflection and write down some ideas. And at this point, we do ask the students through our High Trails staff to write down an authentic, unique thought that we use and we share later at our time at camp. As we continue throughout our day, it is packed, as you can see from that schedule. Right after setting the mood, we jump into our first academic discovery group. All of our teaching and our discovery groups are taught on the trail through role play and inquiry. Our theme discovery groups, which each school will be selecting their own theme discovery groups. This discovery group, this student was on prospectors and made their way up to the crystal bed and was able to find a crystal. Here's Trapper's discovery group, doing a little teamwork, working together, trying to build a bridge across a roaring gorge. It's not really a roaring gorge, safety in mind, but they get to build bridges. They can spend that time connecting with each other and try to accomplish some goals set on that discovery group. This is our Mountaineer Discovery Group. For the Mountaineers, we have a navigation opportunity where they have to use a compass and navigate. Woods folk, we get to discover trees, we get to go to our diseased forests, we get to learn about fire mitigation and why it's so important in our mountains. This is a Mormon handcart. On site, we do have an original homestead, the Quicks Homestead, where your students will learn about homesteading and the life of a homesteader. In the evening, we do have some evening programs. On your schedule, it says TBD because we haven't quite figured out what that'll be. We have 3 different opportunities for your students. One is the Interbarn. This is where we have interconnection of natural science and the science world. Here's where our high schoolers and our staff will be performing skits for your students. And then they get the opportunity to go and learn very specifically, whether it's furs, whether it's rocks, or augmented reality, where they learn about topography in a very unique way. We also have the Hoedown. The Hoedown at Heisler Hall is kind of like a skit performance. It's improv. Our staff leads, we're dressed in costumes, we get silly, we get funny, and we lead your students through different dance steps and movements, with the high schoolers supporting us as well. It's just a great downtime for everybody to get silly and relax and connect together. The third opportunity will be for evening program, could be an evening hike. Layers of supervision. Not only are your students there with us on site, but of course we have the district teachers, administrators, and any staff that's available to come support and spend that time connecting with your students, really developing those relationships. Our High Trail staff, this fall, we'll probably hire anywhere from 8 to 10 different staff members. Hopefully we have many that will return who have been with us before, and all of our field instructors are experienced with children. They're trained, background checked, fingerprinted, and most importantly, they love to have fun. We do have a district high school counseling program where high schoolers join us. And this program is phenomenal because so many of the high schoolers came to High Trails as 6th graders as well. So they see this as a great opportunity to give back and support the 6th graders and helping them have an amazing opportunity just like they had. Then before we know it, our time is wrapping up at High Trails. We like to spend some time connecting and reflecting. And so that last, for you all, it'll be in the afternoon. We'll be heading out to a location we call Reflection on the Rock. And it's a time to gather all together and connect. And we spend time connecting back to setting the mood and just reflecting on some of our thoughts and our time together. Once setting the mood wraps up, once Reflection on the Rocks wraps up, we get to go out again on a mini discovery group called Putting It All Together. And that's where the students get to revisit their tree and their special spots. You can see that on your 2-day schedule. And before we know it, it's time to depart. It's time to organize, connect, have those opportunities on the bus ride back to talk about their adventures. And then we head back down to Colorado Springs. Something important here, it doesn't look like Grandma's very happy. Something we always like to talk about, and you'll see in that Explorer magazine, there's a packing list. It's super important to allow your child that opportunity to gain that independence and attempt to pack following that packing list. It's definitely okay to double check and triple check that because we want them to have everything they need, even though we do have extra coats and hats and boots and gloves and layers. Anything they would need, we also have that at High Trails, but it's good to give them that sense of independence and help support them in that process of packing and organizing. So just to review, our 4 goals for your child is the sense of earth, connecting to the outdoor world, sense of community, connecting with their peers, sense of self, challenging themselves, exploring, pushing themselves, and sense of wonder. Funny thing about this picture of this young child there actually was a camper at Sanborn Western Camp, which is our summer program, but now is the director of our boys camp, Big Spring. So kind of full circle. Just like we have so many 6th graders that come back once they're high schoolers to help support, we have a legacy of connection and time at High Trails and the rest of our camp. If you have any questions beyond tonight, anything I haven't answered or anything that pops up that piques your curiosity, you can definitely email myself here, jacob@htoec.org, and we have Cassidy on the leadership team and Tully as well. And here's our website. Like I said, prior to coming about 2 weeks, all menus will be posted on our website, and there'll be a packing list, and we'll also have the links which your schools will be passing out to you for School Doc, which is our online registration. And at this time, do we have any questions? Yes. I think, and if I could have a coordinator answer that question. Put you on the spot.
So the question for those online was about students being able to pick their own cabins. So we're going to have a coordinator answer that for us.
I think it depends on each school. Each school does it a little bit differently. So I don't want to answer incorrectly, but I think that when we have time, maybe address the question with each of your school. So whatever school, middle school you're going to be at, I would make sure you ask them.
Any questions online? Okay.
Have questions too. Do you have a question?
It's not just for mom and dad or family.
So I heard that High Trails is not happening after next year because of the financial strain. Is that true? How do you join the committee that makes that decision?
That's a great question. So as I said earlier, we will have a committee together, and our goal is to continue to provide our students with an experience like High Trails if it's not High Trails. Not saying High Trails is going away, but we definitely have to start looking at some options. So we needed to get through tonight to then sit down and think about how we can put a committee together, and we'll get information out for folks to know. So that committee will be, like I said, made up of families. It will be parents, if you will, building administrators and teachers, and talk about what are some options for us, because we know it's important for our kids. So that will be coming in the future. So the question for those online, is there a cap in terms of the number of students who can go to High Trails?
Yeah, I can answer that. So High Trails, based on our cabins, we can hold up to 200 kiddos. So we like to divide the D20 middle schools into 2 sections, just to make sure we're not at full capacity and we can really meet their needs. Yeah, we can hold up to 200.
So just to piggyback on that, so any student who wants to go to High Trails is able to go based on the sessions that we have. And then if students don't want to go, we have programming back at the schools to support those students.
Yes. What month? So D20 will be coming the months of September and October. I do believe we have 1 school in November as well.
Karen, is that schedule posted online yet on our website? Okay, so our District 20 website does have our schedule. We had up until just last week had to finalize one of our schools who we had scheduled during parent-teacher conferences and didn't realize it. So we had to book that one. But all of the schedule is online, and then your coordinators at your schools have that schedule as well in terms of which schools are going what weeks during that September through 1st of November timeframe.
And like I said, anything pops up, feel free to reach out to me via email. Be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Karen, are there any questions online that Jacob needs to answer about High Trails? the deadline to register?
There really isn't a deadline. We like to allow families to register right before you guys are coming. Each school will set their own parameters based on what's best for the coordinator and the school to get everything organized timely. If a family registered the day before and we couldn't get the necessary medication forms, that puts the child in an unsafe situation, which we would not want to have happen up at High Trails. So each school will have their own. Then we had a question here?
Yeah, if the payment is made through the parent portal.
Yes, not through High Trails, yes.
So the question for those folks online, the payment for High Trails is made through the parent portal, not directly to High Trails. And each of your coordinators and schools will send information specifically on that piece of it.
Yes.
Yep. So the question for those online was busing. So all students will be bused to and from High Trails by Academy District 20 busing. And then we also have a luggage truck that will take all of their luggage up and hopefully bring it all back if they keep it organized.
We have a good success rate. Don't worry about that. Students, do you guys have any questions? This is your trip. Mom and dad get to know all that's happening, but you get to live it.
Jacob, I have a couple of questions here from online.
Absolutely.
So the first question is, will all the activities that you briefed on during the presentation occur on the new one-night agenda?
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you, Michael. I've got that question answered. And then another one, does the Penicillin Palace have rattlesnake anti-venom on hand? And have there been rattlesnake issues in the past?
About 9,000 feet and we do not have rattlesnakes. So that's awesome. We have no poisonous snakes up there at all. So no vials of anti-venom because we don't have rattlesnakes.
Thankfully.
And for those of you who I didn't introduce, I apologize, Elizabeth. This is Elizabeth, who is also one of the leaders at High Trails that we're so grateful to work with.
But we do have elk and deer. I've seen a lot of elk lately. A lot of deer are out right now. Random bobcats every now and then. So cool wildlife to get to see for sure.
Mice,
Yes.
unfortunately. Don't bring snacks or they'll be in your cabins. We'll feed you well, I promise. Students, any questions? This is your chance. Or you can send emails as well. Oh,
The question is, can children bring a cell phone? And Jacob says,
no, please. We want them to connect. Some schools can set up an opportunity to have that connection if you need it, but we try to be device free because the goal is to connect outdoor with the natural world and with their classmates. And we find that devices tend to change that dynamic.
And though I'm getting a lot of questions about the agenda that Jacob handed out tonight, it will be posted on the website tomorrow. So if you, when you get onto the ASD High Trails website and you scroll on down, it will be an attachment down there.
so the question is, how can our high school students get involved with coming to High Trails and being a counselor?
That is awesome. Have them reach out to their high school coordinators or just high school counselors, and they can have them connect with their coordinators at that high school. And this year we do have specific high schools coming with specific middle schools. We're trying to make that a stronger connection based on the feeder system. So, you.
Jacob, we have another question online. How long are hikes usually?
So our discovery groups are 2.5 hours. As we're going on those discovery groups, there's a lot of intention set of pausing, connecting with the students. You have the academic proportion, you have that team building, and then they continue on that path. I would say they're 2.5 hours and they range anywhere from 1.5 miles or less to 3 miles tops. And we do spend a lot of time intentionally with the coordinators organizing those discovery groups based on some students' needs as well.
Correct. So the new schedule, so probably the old one must still be posted, it sounds like. So the new schedule will be posted on there tomorrow, showing the 1 night, 2 day schedule, which is what you have here tonight. Yes. Right.
Correct. So online, when you go online, you're probably seeing it's like, and it looks like it may be a 4-day experience. It's not, because what we do is we split up the group into 2 separate groups. So let's say your student goes to Timberview, half of the 6th grade students will go on a, well, in their case, they're going on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So they would leave on a Tuesday, they'd come home on a Wednesday, and then the second group would go on a Thursday and come home on a Friday. Now, for the rest of your schools, you guys are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Great question. So the question is about if we come into grant money or those types of funding possibilities. So our committee will look at all of that, right? So just to give a little bit of context, the last couple years as a district, as you know, we've continued to grow in numbers. As a district, we haven't been able to break even with the amount of money we charge students. We have costs for substitutes, busing, High Trails costs, which of course have to increase because they have costs, cabin, those kinds of things. And High Trails has been amazing. They have provided us with $15,000 in scholarship for each season. And then our Education Foundation also has provided us with $10,000. So last year we had $25,000 and we still couldn't cover all of the requests that we got for families in need. So we were still about $4,500 short. So that just gives you kind of a context of some of the things that we're working with. So that committee is really going to be to explore some options. Is there some grants? Are there some grants out there? Oh, good. Right. Are there some other opportunities that would afford us similar types of experiences for our kids? And what can that look like? So we're going to explore all of those options. So great question. Any other questions?
Yes. Are the cabins separated by gender?
Yes, they are.
All right. So if there's no other questions for the big group, if you will, I want to first of all thank parents for coming because this is really important. Thank High Trails for coming to share the information. We do have some of our coordinators from the different middle schools here. Thank you, coordinators, for coming. You can see on the wall, like Eagle View is there, Discovery Canyon, Mountain Ridge, etc. If you have school-specific questions, our coordinators that are here will go stand by that poster and you can ask them some school-specific questions. Like I said, I'll be here as well, and Karen for district questions, and then our High Trails staff will be here for if there's kiddos or other family members who want to ask High Trails specific questions. So again, thank you for coming, and we'll let you go meet with your middle school or ask us any questions you have.